Ever get the feeling a language is hiding something? Like it's got this secret identity it's not quite letting on about?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Some languages just ooze mystery.
Well, today's deep dive is all about one of those languages, Maltese.
Maltese, wow, okay. Talk about a language with layers. It's like the European Union's own linguistic puzzle.
Isn't it? You'd think nestled right there in the heart of the Mediterranean, it'd be all Italian and French influences.
Right. You'd expect it to just blend in.
But nope, Maltese held on to its roots. And get this, those roots, they go all the way back to a time when Sicily was ruled by Arabs.
Exactly. That's the thing about Maltese that always blows my mind. It's a Semitic language in Europe.
It's kind of wild to think about.
It really is, and it all goes back to this fascinating period, the Emirate period in Sicily. We're talking 9th to 11th centuries. Imagine. Sicily, this incredible crossroads, this melting pot of cultures, and out of that mix, you get Siculo-Arabic. Yeah, so you've got these Arabic-speaking rulers governing a population that mostly spoke various Romance languages, right? The result. A whole new way of speaking was bound to pop up.
And that's where Maltese comes in. It's like a direct descendant of this, what do you call it, Siculo-Arabic?
You got it. Well, I mean, more like it evolved from Siculo-Arabic, inherited its structure, a good chunk of its vocabulary, but it went on its own journey from there. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. Picture what happens in 1091. The Normans, they come knocking, they conquer Malta.
Okay, yeah, the Norman conquest.
Mm-hmm.
Big historical turning point. So did they totally wipe out the local language, start speaking Norman French everywhere?
Not quite. It wasn't a case of complete language replacement or anything that drastic, but that conquest, it was a big deal. It severed that direct link back to Arabic-speaking lands.
Ah, I see. So it was isolated.
Exactly. Isolated. And you know what happened in Sicily itself? Siculo-Arabic, it kind of faded away, got absorbed into Sicilian, but its descendant, safe over there on the Maltese Islands.
So Maltese had this chance to sort of go its own way, develop on its own.
Precisely. It could have easily become just another dialect of Arabic, but it didn't. Instead, it took a different path, absorbing the flavors of its new surroundings, all while clinging to that Semitic core.
It's kind of like if the basic building blocks of Maltese are Semitic, then Italian swoops in and provides the mortar, right?
Such a great way to put it. That's exactly what happened. They needed words for new concepts, more abstract ideas, government, law, even religion. And where did they turn? Italian. It's a pattern you see in so many languages, borrowing to fill in the gaps, to adapt to new experiences.
Makes you wonder about those Brits too, right? Malta was under British rule for a while too. They must have left their mark on the language as well.
Oh, absolutely. English definitely left its mark, though not as extensively as Italian. Think of it more like sprinkles on top. You'll find those English words dotted here and there in Maltese, especially when it comes to, more modern inventions, everyday objects. Language is a living thing, right? Always changing, picking up bits and pieces along the way.
So we're dealing with a language that's got this bedrock of Semitic vocabulary and grammar layered with Italian influences, and then, just for a little extra flavor, a sprinkle of English on top.
You could say that. A delicious linguistic lasagna, if you will. And it's that unique blend that makes Maltese such a fascinating puzzle to unpack.
Okay, I'm ready to dig into this linguistic lasagna. You mentioned earlier that Maltese grammar is where those Semitic roots really shine through. What is it about the grammar that's so unique?
Well, it's got some really interesting features it shares with Arabic. Like, have you ever heard of the triliteral root system?
Triliteral root system. It rings a bell, yeah, but I wouldn't mind a little refresher if you've got a sec.
Oh, for sure. So it's this really cool system for forming verbs. Basically, you start with 3 consonants, and these form the root. It's like the core meaning of the word.
Okay, so 3 consonants, and those are like the building blocks.
Exactly. And then you can change the vowels around those consonants to create a whole bunch of different words, all related to that root meaning. It's super efficient.
Okay, I think I need an example. Give me an example and I'll get it.
Absolutely. So let's take the root KTB, those 3 consonants. They carry the idea of writing.
Okay, writing. Got it.
And in Maltese, the word for book is katib. See the connection there?
Oh, right, because books, writing. Yeah, okay, I see that. So it's like those 3 consonants are like the DNA of the word or something.
Exactly, you got it. And then you can tack on prefixes and suffixes to create even more words, all stemming from that same root. So kitib, that means writer, and kitba, that means writing, all coming from that same KTB root.
That's really cool. So it's like you're building these words from the inside out almost.
Yeah, it's like a linguistic puzzle.
I like it. And I'm guessing this system, it applies to a bunch of Maltese verbs.
Oh, tons. It's the backbone for a huge chunk of the vocabulary. And it's not just individual words either, even some common phrases. They have this echo of those Arabic origins.
Really? Like what?
Well, like the greeting is Slim Gedielikum. It's
Yeah.
very close to the Arabic as Salamu Alaikum. And they both mean peace be with you.
So it's like you can almost hear these whispers of the languages past, even in just casual conversations. That's so cool. But wait, we can't forget about those Berber whispers you mentioned earlier. What was that all about?
Oh, yeah. This is where things get really interesting, linguistically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So scattered throughout Maltese, you'll find these words that, well, they don't really have direct counterparts in other Arabic dialects. It's kind of strange, right?
Strange how, like, what do you mean?
Well, it's like they stick out a bit.
Mm.
They're clearly related to Arabic, but not quite the same. But here's the thing. Some of them, they actually do have counterparts in Berber languages.
Berber. Wait, as in North Africa, Berber.
Exactly.
So are we talking about influences from before the Siculo-Arabic period, even older?
You bet. Like the word gremsala, for example. It means lizard. And then there's fikruna for turtle. These words, they suggest that there might be this whole other layer of linguistic history going on here, something even older than we initially thought.
This just keeps getting more and more fascinating. It's like we're peeling back the layers of a linguistic onion or something. But okay, I want to shift gears just a bit here and talk about how these words, how they actually go together. Like, what about Maltese grammar?
Well, for one thing, it borrows the definite article system straight from Arabic. Just like in Arabic, you use al before a noun to mean the.
Right, right.
Well, in Maltese, they use il.
So you'd say like ilktib for the book.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
And this is where it gets even more interesting, because the pronunciation of il, it actually changes depending on what sound the next word starts with.
Oh, wow. Those little details, though.
Right. It's those details that give a language its own unique personality, I think.
100%. Okay, so what other fun quirks can you tell me about?
Well, how about Maltese plurals? Because those are pretty fascinating. It's got this whole mix of regular and irregular forms, some inherited straight from Semitic roots, others borrowed from those Romance languages. Remember how we talked about the word KT?
Yeah, the book, our good friend KTB.
Right. Well, the plural of katib is katba.
Katba.
Yeah. And that right there, that's following a typical Arabic pattern. But then you've got a word like lingua, which means language. And that one's actually borrowed from Italian.
Borrowed from Italian, okay.
And so for the plural, they just tack on an I at the end.
Lingui.
Lingui. Okay, so it's like picking and choosing which rules it wants to follow almost.
Exactly. It creates its own unique system.
That's so cool. Okay, what about verbs? Didn't you say something about agglutination earlier?
Oh, yes. Agglutination. This is where Maltese verbs really get expressive. It's like, imagine being able to just stack a whole bunch of word parts onto a single verb to create this super specific meaning.
Wait, so instead of having a whole sentence, you could have one megaverb. You got it. One word doing all the work. It's pretty efficient when you think about it.
That's amazing. Okay, give me an example.
So how about this? Agamilomli. Just one word, but it means make them for me.
Wow.
It's formed from the verb agamelo, which means to make. And then you've got all those suffixes packed on. Gama home for them and agalai for me. All in one neat package.
That's incredible. So compact.
It is. And this whole concept, totally foreign to Romance languages, just goes to show you how deep those Semitic ties run.
It's like each verb is like this little Swiss Army knife of meaning. So we've got this language built on this amazing Semitic framework. We've infused it with all this Romance vocabulary. And then on top of that, it just goes ahead and creates these super intricate verbs that you wouldn't find anywhere else. It's incredible how resilient this language has been.
It really is remarkable. But, you know, it's important to remember that Maltese isn't stuck in the past. This is very much a living, breathing language, and it's got to adapt to a modern world, right?
Right. You're talking about Maltenglish, right? The way Maltese speakers kind of effortlessly flow between languages and conversations.
Oh, absolutely. It's this fascinating phenomenon.
Yeah.
It speaks to just how dynamic and, well, multilingual the environment in Malta really is. But you know what? Maybe we should save that for the next part of our little linguistic deep dive.
You know, before we get totally lost in the world of Maltenglish, I think it's worth taking a second to appreciate what a survivor Maltese really is.
It's true. This is a language that could have easily vanished, swallowed up by bigger, more dominant languages around it.
It really is incredible when you think about it. Those ancient roots in Arabic shaped by conquest, by colonization, centuries of just constant cultural exchange. And yet, here it is today, thriving as an official language of the European Union.
It really makes you realize languages. They're more than just words, more than just grammar rules. They embody history, culture. They're a huge part of a person's identity.
100%. And in a world where English sometimes feels like it's taking over everything, a language like Maltese, it's this beacon of diversity, proof that resilience is possible.
Exactly. And it makes you think, what's it like to navigate that linguistic landscape every day?
Yeah.
To go from speaking Maltese, this language steeped in Semitic and Romance influences, to switching gears, speaking English, the language of, well, pretty much everything these days.
Now, that's a question I'd love for our listeners to sit with for a bit. How does this blend of linguistic influences, this tapestry of words and grammar unique to Maltese, how does it all shape the way speakers see themselves, how they interact with the world around them?
It's such a fascinating thought. And you know what? I think it speaks to something even bigger. Languages, they're not static. They're always evolving. They borrow. They adapt. Sometimes, yeah, sadly, they disappear.
Well, Maltese has certainly done its fair share of adapting. From those ancient Semitic roots, through all those waves of outside influence, it's created something truly unique.
And the best part, it's still going strong.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, if you've ever wondered about the stories languages can tell, if you've ever felt that little spark of excitement when you encounter something different, something new, something maybe even a little mysterious, well, take a page from Maltese and never lose that curiosity. Who knows what you might discover?